yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel. Now today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet our mitered heart granny square. We're going to start with the square and then we'll stitch back and forth and make it a mitered square. Alright? The heart portion is a little tricky but not hard. But don't worry, I'll walk you through it. And if you want to look on the blog, of course, there are lots of pictures. Now, I did this using all different medium weight number 4 yarns. And so this is our Scrap Happy project for February. And I thought this was really fun. And you can do whatever colors that you want. I kind of went with some springy type colors, although I do have a dark purple row in there. And I just got in my yarn stash and pulled out a bunch of fun colors. Now, you don't have to do this as a Scrap Happy project. You can pick specific colors to make it out of, and there's lots of things that you can use these squares for. Now, they're 10 by 10 inches, so you could put them together and make a bag. You could make a scarf. You could make a blanket, of course, maybe some pillows, just lots of different things. As well as, if you want to make it a bigger square, you could continue to do the back and forth section until it's as big as you want, and then add the trim that we add on the square. Make it a 12-inch square. Or you could just do one row and make it a smaller square. So it's really a versatile square that's super fun and has this nice heart in the middle. It's a super fun project too. I think you're really going to enjoy making these. There's only one row that's a little bit complicated. It's this row where we change colors a little bit, but I don't think you're going to have any trouble with that. I'm going to walk you through it. It's really not hard at all. It's just a matter of changing colors in order to form that nice heart. And again, I have the complete pattern with pictures on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. Alright, let's talk yarn. For this project, I used all medium weight number 4 acrylic yarns. I just got in my yarn stash and pulled out a bunch of different shades. Now you'll notice this one isn't a solid. This is one of those Vanna's Choice Rose Mists. And then I've got different shades of purples and pinks. Even have some white here. Because I wanted it to be springy, but I also wanted it to be in shades of purples and pinks. But again, you can do this in any colors that you want to. I was really tempted to do some in some bright yellow and oranges. I may still do that because I really love bright yellow. But you're going to need a total of about 2 ounces of all your colors to make one of our squares, okay? So you can kind of gauge that as you're pulling out your yarns. Now I did mine so that each row was one color. I didn't change colors in the middle of rows, but you can if you want to. It's totally up to you how you want to style your squares, okay? So we're going to stitch up with our H hook. It's a 5mm crochet hook, and then you need a needle for weaving in ends and a pair of scissors. Now you'll notice that I have this one on a blocking board. You do not have to block your squares. I'm just one of those crocheters who really likes to block my squares. You don't have to. All right, let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 5. We're going to join that into a circle and make that stay knot. Now, if you prefer to make your beginning circle with a magic circle or magic loop or whatever they call it, you certainly can. All right, so we're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. Now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And now we're going to chain 2. 1, 2, And now we're going to make 3 sets of 3 double crochets, chain 2. Our chain 3 counted as our first, and then we did 2 double crochets, chain 2. And now we're doing 3 more, so we'll have a total of 4 sets of 3 double crochets, chain 2. All right, so I'm going to join to my chain 3 with a slip stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch in those 2 double crochets, slip stitch in that chain 2 space, and chain 3. Now we have 4 sets of 3 double crochets and 4 chain 2 spaces. But before we do our next row, we're going to turn this over, give this just a gentle tug, and go ahead and weave this in. When you're doing something like this particular style of granny square, we are going to have a lot of ends to weave in if we change colors a lot. So keep that in mind as you work as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clip that. There we go. All right, so this is row or round 1. 4 sets of 3 double crochets and 4 chain 2 spaces. So these first 2 rows are similar to just making a regular row granny square. All right, so let's do the second row. We're going to stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Our chain 3 counted as our first, and we stitch 2 more, chain 2, and then we'll stitch 3 double crochets in that same corner. 1, 2, and 3. And then chain 2. And then we'll go to the next chain 2 space and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. And 3 more double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And chain 2. And then we'll repeat this on these next 2 chain 2 spaces. So we repeated that on these last 2 corners. So we have 4 sets of 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets and chain 2. So we're going to join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch, and then slip stitch in the next 2 double crochets, and then slip stitch in the chain 2 space and chain 3. Now I've got my color 2 here ready to go, because now we're going to start making it look like a heart. Alright, so we're going to begin in this corner stitching it exactly the same. So we're going to stitch 2 more double crochets because our chain 3 counts as 1, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Oops, there we go. All right, we're going to chain 2, and now I'm going to bring in my color 2. All right, we're going to leave our color 1 attached. And in this chain 2 space, we're going to stitch 3 double crochets. And you'll notice I'm stitching over my color 1. All right. So we stitch 3 double crochets in the white. Now we're going to grab our color 1, chain 2, and we're going to go to the corner, but we're going to stitch over our color 2. So we're going to go in that corner and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. And chain 2. And in this next chain 2 space, we're going to stay with color 1, but we are stitching over that white yarn, or our color 2, whatever color that you've chosen, and we're stitching our 3 double crochets. Alright, now we're going to chain 2, but we're going to bring in our color 2, and in the next corner we're going to stitch that corner in our color 2. So 3 double crochets, chain 2, more yarn out here, and 3 double crochets. Alright, so let's take a look at it. This is how it should look. Now, you may notice you have some yarn in here or in here. Don't worry about that. When we come back around on row 4, we're going to stitch over that and it's going to tidy it right up. So now we're going to change to our color 1. We're going to chain 2. And we're going to stitch 3 double crochets in that next chain 2 space. Alright, we're going to chain 2, we're going to change back to our color 2, and in this corner we're going to stitch using our white or color 2 yarn. And we'll make that corner 3 double crochets. Get some more yarn out here. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets. We're going to join or change colors again. And we're going to stitch this last chain 2 space with 3 double crochets with our color 1. We're going to chain 2, join, and you'll notice how I've got that color 2 up there when I'm joining. That's just to bring it up there, because we're going to need it in this chain 2 space on the next row. Alright? And then we'll slip stitch. Okay, if I can get in there. There we go. In the next 2 double crochets. There we go. Alright, and so now we're going to go in the chain 2 space and slip stitch, but we're going to grab that color 2 and chain 3. Alright, and this is how it should look on row 3. Now it looks a little wonky. That's normal, but we're going to be coming back in on row 4. This is row 3. We're going to be coming back in on row 4 and stitching that row of white around, and it's going to cause it all to lay nice and pretty. Alright, so row 3 might look just a little wonky. Like down here you're seeing some of the yarns showing through in the different places of our chain 2 spaces. Don't worry about it. When we come back in on row 4, we're going to be using our white yarn or our color 2, and it's going to clean that all up and look nice and tidy. But this is how it should look after row 3. You've still got a granny square with 4 corners and your side with 3 double crochets. We've just changed some colors in order to form a heart. Alright, so for row 4, we're going to cut off our color 1 because we're finished with that, unless we want to add it in some of the stripes later on, of course. Alright. And now we're going to basically just stitch our regular granny square for row 4. So we have our chain 3. We're going to stitch 2 double crochets, chain 2, some more yarn out here, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now we'll chain 2. We'll go to these 2 chain 2 spaces, and we'll stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, three double crochets, chain 2. All right, now we'll go to this corner, stitch it exactly the same, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. There we go. Chain 2, 3 double crochets, and once we get done with this row, that heart's going to just pop right out. Now, where we have these right here, what I do is I kind of go in and pull that up with it so that it looks nice and tidy. You're basically stitching over that piece of yarn that was hanging there in order to make it look a little bit more tidy. Now you're going to have these in the back here where we carried it across, and so that's the back of the work, and you may want to work more into weaving those in more, but that's totally up to you how you want to do that. I just like to carry it. I think it works good. Everyone has a preference in how they do that, and you can try it a couple different ways to see which works best for you. Alrighty, so I've got 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, chain 2, same thing here. I'm going to stitch over those yarns that I carried just to make it look a little bit neater. And here. Okay, see how that looks? It tidies it up. All right, let's finish around this side so you can see that heart. Alrighty, chain 2 as we stitched up that corner, and again we're going to try to stitch over those yarns that we carried. 2, 3, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and 2 double crochets. We'll join to our chain 3. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the corner. There we go. And I'm just going to chain 1. Now, it may look a little wonky. I guess that's my word of the day, wonky. All right, so what I do is I just kind of pull it out so you can really pull that out. You can kind of see it, and you can see how that heart just pops out on the square. All right, so basically we stitched a granny square for the first 4 rows, but we changed colors in order for that heart to show up. And you will have some lines here. You know, you can work on tucking those in if you want to. I think they're fine. I'm not worried about it. But you're going to have some of that because we're changing colors. But this is how that it should look after row 4. So for rows 1 through 4, it was really important that you just used 2 different colors. That way you can see the heart. Now that we're going to be doing the rows, you can use whatever colors that you want. You can change as often as you want. I stuck to doing one row, one color, but you don't have to. You do what works best for you. All right, so I'm going to cut this just a little bit shorter, and I'm going to bring in my next color, and I'm using this pretty purple, kind of an orchid purple. All right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to go in this chain 2 space, and we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to double crochet in those 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the chain 2 space. And we'll do this all the way across, stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet and 1 double crochet in the chain 2 space. This gives us a nice solid row of double crochet to the corner. All right, so 1 double crochet in the double crochets, 1 double crochet in the chain 2 spaces. Now in the corner, we're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And now we're just going to work down this side. So 1 double crochet in the double crochets, and 1 double crochet in the chain 2 spaces. Alrighty. So I'm at that last set of 3 double crochets. Oops, there we go. And now we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in that last chain 2 space. Okay? And we're going to chain 1. And so this is how row 5 will look. You'll just have a solid row double crochet this way, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then a solid row of double crochet this way. We're not stitching on these 2 sides right now. All right, so I'm changing colors every row, so I'm going to go ahead and cut my lavender off, and I'm going to bring in this pretty pink. That's kind of a rose pink. All right, and we're going to turn our work. And what we're going to do is we're going to place a single crochet in each of these double crochets to the corner. So 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets working to that corner. All right, so I stitched a single crochet in each of my double crochets. In the corner, I'm going to stitch a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. And then I'll just stitch 1 single crochet in each of those double crochets working across this side of my square. So I finished single crocheting across, placing 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets across, and that included that chain 3 we started with. So I'm changing colors again. There we go. And I'm going to grab this color here, bring this in, and chain 3. Whoops, get back on that hook. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now when changing colors every row, you are going to have some ends to weave in. So if you want to repeat every other row or every 3 rows and carry your yarn, that's totally fine. I just wanted to use a different color for every row. Get rid of some of my scrap yarns. All right, now on row 6, what we're going to do is we're going to place a double crochet in each of the single crochets, but we're going to be working in the back loop only. All right, so if you look at your loops across the top, you have loops on the front side and loops on the back side. All right, and so we're going to go in the back loops only. 1 double crochet in each of the single crochets, working in the back loops only. You'll know that you're doing it right if you see that ridge. Right there, see that ridge? That's how you'll know that you're doing it correctly. 1 double crochet in each of the single crochets, working in the back loops only. And when you get to that corner, you're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet in that corner. Oop. Sometimes I go too fast, I think, and I can't grab that yarn. There we go. Alrighty, let's see. There's our single crochet. Here's our chain 2 space. So we're going to go in that chain 2 space and stitch a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. And then we'll go right in that first single crochet, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of our single crochets, working in the back loops only, just like we did on this side. So now we have completed up through row 7, and what we're going to do is we're going to repeat row 6 and row 7 2 more times. So we'll have another row 6, row 7, row 6, and row 7. All right, so we're going to repeat row 6 and row 7 2 more times, or for 4 more rows, alternating your rows. So I have completed those 4 rows, repeating row 6 and 7, 6 and 7, and that makes us end on a single crochet row. Normally we would chain 3, but on this one we're only going to chain 1, and we're going to bring in another color. I found this really bright purple I like. And what we're going to do is we're going to be stitching in the back loops only across these 2 sides, and then we're going to evenly single crochet back up. And we'll have stitches here we can stitch in, just in these sections we won't, and we'll have to put those in evenly. All right, and we are going to be stitching in the back loop only on these 2 sides. All right, so we're going to chain 1, snug everything down. All right, and we'll go right in that first stitch, and we'll stitch 1 single crochet, not double like we have been doing, in each of these stitches across to the corner. All right, and so basically what we're doing is stitching an even row of single crochet all the way around all 4 sides of our square. All right, so we'll work to this first corner, stitching a single crochet in the back loops only of each of our single crochets. So when we get to this corner, we're again going to place a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet in that chain 2 space. And then we'll again stitch in the back loop only, working down this side, stitching 1 single crochet in each of our single crochets. So I single crochet down this second side, and that brings us down here. And what you're going to do in this corner, you're going to chain 1 and single crochet and then you're going to stitch over those tails of yarn. And I like to do a couple stitches and then I'll let it go, and then I'll come back in with my needle and weave those in. All right? And that will help tidy them up. And you want to try to stitch in the sides of the stitches in this portion. I'm going to move that one out of the way and come back and tidy that up with my needle. All right? It's just a small section here that we're doing just in the sides of the stitches. We'll move that. There we go. And now this brings us to the beginning square that we worked with. And we have stitches to stitch in. So we can just stitch our single crochets in those double crochet stitches. One in that chain 2 space. Whoops, I missed that first double crochet. There we go. Make sure I got one in each of those double crochets. This brings us to this corner. There's a chain 2 space, and we're going to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, and then we'll double crochet up the next side. All right, so we evenly single crocheted here, then we single crocheted in each of the chain 2 spaces and double crochets, and then we're going to do that here, and then evenly single crochet back up here and join to our first single crochet. So basically what we've done for this row is we've single crocheted evenly all the way around the 4 sides. Now these first 2 sides we did back loops only, but on the rest of it we just did regular single crochets. All right, we're going to join to our first single crochet and chain 3. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to place a double crochet in each of the single crochets, working all the way around. All right, and when we get to those corners, we're going to place a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet in the 4 corners. Get across here and I can show you how to do that corner real quick. I'm liking this particular color of purple. It's really pretty. Alright, so basically we're just stitching a double crochet in each of the single crochets, working all the way around our 4 corners. And then in the 4 corners we're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 2. I may have said chain 1, chain 2. And double crochet. All right, I'm almost there. And I did not change colors on this row. You certainly can. All right, so I'm in this chain 2 space. We're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet in that chain 2 space. And then we'll just repeat this on all 4 sides, or I should say the next 3 sides, and join back to our chain 3. All right? So we're basically just stitching a row of double crochets all the way around. I have completed that row of double crochet, and we have a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in each of our 4 corners. And you can see how that helps it really shape up nicely. Because when you have these edges like this that are not all exactly the same, it can kind of be a little wonky. But by adding that solid row of double crochet all the way around like that, that really helped it hold its shape. Now, I'm going to add one more row. I'm going to bring in this light pink, and it's just a row of single crochet, just to give it a nice trim so that you have something to hook them together with. Okay? And we're just going to do a basic single crochet all the way around the 4 sides and place a single crochet chain 1, single crochet chain 2 in each of the 4 corners. All right, we're doing single crochet chain 2 in each of the 4 corners, and then 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets on each side. All right. So I have finished that single crochet all the way around, placing a single crochet chain 2 and single crochet in each of my 4 corners. I'm going to join to that first single crochet with the slip stitch and clip my yarn. I'm going to pull that loop back in the next stitch so we have a nice neat finish. There we go. All right, now I have a few ends, of course, to weave in, and I will tidy that up in just a second. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about blocking, just because every time I talk about it, there's always a couple of questions. So I'm going to explain to you what I do, and remember, you don't have to block, it's just preference. So here is my completed square. All right, now you may make a bunch of squares, and maybe some are tighter than others or some are looser than others, and you want them to match up better, because if you sit down and make one and then a day later you make another one, your tension may not always be the same. And so what I do is I just block them. And these are just, like I said, those dense sponge boards. I picked them up at, I think, Michael's 8 or 10 years ago, and I've had them all this time. And the truth is, most of the time, the only things I block are squares or small things like coasters. I don't block everything, but I really like to block squares because I think it makes it easier for us to put them together. All right, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And this is supposed to be a 10-inch square. And so what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll pin it on the board, stretching it just a little bit because my tension may not have been the same as my other squares. And then I'll usually put one through the middle. I don't always, it just depends, you know, how big the project is and how out of shape I left it. Sometimes I'll put them in a basket or something and they'll get out of shape. But if I want this to come over a little more, I might put a few more pins in it, you know. And then all I do is I have a water bottle. It only has water in it, nothing else. I also use it for ironing, so it's just water. And I spritz it. I don't get it soaking wet. I just dampen the yarn or the fabric, okay? And then all I do is I let it sit, okay? And let me show you this other one. This one's been sitting for a while, and it's on the blocking board. And when you take it off, it's going to hold its shape way much better. And then that way, when it's time to hook my squares all together, they'll meet up much easier. And see how nice and crisp that is? So this is our mitered heart granny square. Super fun to make, and there's just so many things that you could make with it.